Namah Sri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchid Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. First of all, I would like to thank Self-Wellness Awareness for inviting me to speak on this webinar session organized to celebrate the birthday of Swami Vivekananda. The topic on which I will be speaking today. That's a very interesting topic. The topic goes, that goes this way. It's the arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Nachiketa and Vivekananda. It's a very nice topic indeed, which has been selected for today's discussion by Hemantima. So we know that this is actually a free translation. This line, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. It is a free translation of Swami Vivekananda of one of the passages from Kathopanishad. Uttishthata jagra prapya varan nivodhata. It's in one of the mantras of the Kathopanishad. So that's what was freely translated by Swami Vivekananda as arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached, which is a very oft-quoted quotation of Swami Vivekananda. So now what's the background where we find Swami Vivekananda is speaking these words? So we'll find that when Swami Vivekananda returned after his first visit from the West, now when on his arrival in Calcutta, now it's a historical record. He was greeted with intense enthusiasm. The horse carriage in which he alighted, the horse was removed. It is the young Bengal, the students of Bengal, the young boys of Bengal, the university students, they started pulling the horse carriage. That's how he was welcomed. So in the reply to the welcome, address of welcome, a few days later after his arrival, a congregation was arranged to welcome him. And in the reply to the address of welcome, we will find that almost at the end of the talk, Swami Vivekananda quoted the famous mantra of the Kathopanishad, which is today's topic, that Uttishthata jagrata prapya varan nivodhata kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. So here, what's the literal meaning of this mantra of Kathopanishad? That Uttishthata jagrata, arise, awake, prapya, the thing which you have to attain, means your goal. The one which you think is your goal, that's the thing which is prapya. So the thing which you think is desired, so that's the goal. Varan nivodhata. So approach the great ones who have already has already traversed this path. Follow them so that you can also learn from them and you can reach the goal. So that's the literal meaning of the first line. But if the second line is as if a warning, that it's not easy. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya. So the way is not easy. It's like the sharp edge of a razor. The way the sharp edge of the razor, it's almost impossible to walk on it. So the way is as if like that sharp edge of the razor. That's the path. That's what the wise one says. Kavayo vadanti. The wise one says what? That it is kshurasya dhara. It's like the sharp edge of a razor. And it is very hard to travel. Durgam pathasta. Duratyaya. It is difficult to cross. But in English, the word difficult is not synonymous with the word impossible. Yes, it is difficult, but it is possible. So that's the idea, that it's a very difficult path. It's not easy. You arise, awake, and follow the great ones so that you can also reach the goal which they have reached. It's not an easy path. It's very difficult. It's very hard to travel. But at the same time, it is possible. So the traditional way of interpreting is that Uttishtata means Sravana. You hear about the spiritual truth from a realized soul, following the parampara, following the tradition. Jagrata speaks of manana. After hearing, there may be lot of gap in our understanding. There are two ways. Once I have the gap in my understanding, there can be two approaches, two choices. What are the two choices? I may simply reject it as a trash, they have no meaning, or I may be humble enough to accept the fact that it do speak of some very sublime, profound truth to which I cannot relate with my present fund of experience, with my present fund of knowledge. I cannot relate to it. Why not I try to cogitate upon it, intellectually cogitate upon it? And that's the way gradually the doubts will be cleared off, and I will have more and more intellectual conviction. So that's Jagrata. Uttishtata, you hear, and then you cogitate upon it with full humility. This humility to accept that it is the truth, the word spoken by the Rishi, following the spiritual tradition, is truth. That is Shraddha. So this Shraddha has been spoken of in the Kathopanishad at the very beginning. We will come to that. The Shraddha has as if entered into the heart of Nachiketa. And that's why he has that, with that type of Shraddha, with that type of faith. As there is no exact word to translate the word Shraddha, we are saying it's faith. With that type of faith, faith in the word of the Guru, faith in the word of the scriptures, he is trying to cogitate upon it, so that that will result in, when once you get that intellectual conviction, that's not enough. Now you have to lead the life according to your conviction. So you have to meditate on that truth, lead the life according to the truth. That is nididhyasana. That's the thing which has been spoken as nibodhata. So that's already, that path has already been traversed by the realized soul. You follow that path after you get that intellectual conviction. That intellectual conviction will give you the motivation to traverse this path, to take the initiation in this journey. So that's the traditional way of understanding the first line of this sloka, on which we will be restricting our discussion today. This Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhata. So arise, that speaks of Sravana, awake, that speaks of Manana, and then with the intellectual conviction you have from that intellectual cogitation, you now start leading the life according to the spiritual truth. So that's the thing which has been spoken of as Shraddha. Now we will find Swami Vivekananda is freely translating this first line as arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. It's a very free translation where we find that the idea of following the path as traversed by the rishis is not highlighted. Just he's saying their goal is quite open. That till your goal is reached, you just don't stop. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So now we will try to reflect on these words of Swami Vivekananda, which he spoke in his reply to the address of welcome. Now first, let us read the lines which Swami Vivekananda speaks following this statement. After he says that arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached, the lines which follow that we will read out, to find out the way Swami Vivekananda interprets the word Shraddha, as has been spoken of in our scriptures, in Kathopanishad. So what he's saying, those of you who have studied that most beautiful of all Upanishads, the Katha, will remember how the king was going to make a great sacrifice. And instead of giving away things that were of any worth, he was giving away cows and horses that were of not of any use. And the Upanishad says that at that time Shraddha entered into the heart of his son, Nachiketa. I would not translate the word Shraddha to you. That's what Swamiji is saying. It would be a mistake. It is a wonderful word to understand, and much depends on it. We will see how it works. For immediately we find Nachiketa telling himself. Now, to interpret the word Shraddha, which comes in Kathopanishad at the very beginning, Swami Vivekananda will be quoting one of the mantras of Kathopanishad, whose translation in the words of Swamiji is, I am superior to many, I am inferior to few, but nowhere I am the last. I can also do something. So here we find the word Shraddha in the scripture speaks of faith in the words of Guru, faith in the words of scriptures, and to follow the path. But what Swamiji is interpreting in the words of Kathopanishad, it's not that he's having just his own freestyle interpretation. He is quoting from the Kathopanishad where Nachiketa says, when Nachiketa was admonished by his father that go to hell, as if he was saying, they go to hell. And then what Nachiketa was reflecting within himself, that's the thing which Swamiji is translating as, I am superior to many. Bahunam emi prathamo. I am mediocre as compared to others. Bahunam emi madhyama. But I am never the one who is of no use. I'm just never the last. That's what is implied. So what has Yama to do with me? Why Father is sending me to as if to hell? So that is Shraddha, that I am not worthless. I have within the core of my being that strength is there to manifest all the potentialities which is within me. And this is the boldness. And that is what Swamiji is speaking of. And in the words of Swamiji, and this boldness increased. And the boy wanted to solve the problem which was in his mind. The problem of death. But after death, some says that nothing exists. Some says we do continue to exist. What's the solution behind this mystery? That was his question. With that, he proceeded to Yama. For that, you need a tremendous grit, resolution, strength. And that's what Swamiji is pointing out as Shraddha. The faith in oneself, not only faith in God, not only faith in the words of scriptures. As Swamiji in some other place very interestingly have told, what is faith? Faith, faith, faith in yourself. Faith in God. And then the next line is very important. If you have faith in all the 33 million gods, and in all the gods which the foreigners have brought in your midst, and still have no faith in yourself, there is no salvation for you. So Swamiji here is stressing the faith in oneself more than faith in the scriptures and faith in the words of Guru. It's not that he's denying that, but first you have to have faith in yourself. Then only it can complement with your faith in the scriptures and faith in the words of the Guru. So we'll come to that discussion gradually. So we will see that Swamiji is quoting from the Kathopanishad a particular mantra to interpret the word Shraddha, which has been spoken of in Kathopanishad, as that I do have some competence. I'm not a worthless. And in India, and in that political situation, that's the interpretation which was needed. So we will see that Swami Vivekananda speaks of another dimension of Shraddha, which means faith in one's own self, in addition to the traditional meaning of Shraddha as faith in scriptures and faith in Guru. And it is this faith in himself that motivated Nachiketa to venture into the realm of death despite being reproached by his father. Now, why Swami Vivekananda interpreted it in a bit different way than traditional way? Now you will find that Swami Vivekananda found in those days that because of the foreign rule, when India was under the foreign rule, and it was for centuries before the British came, India was still under the foreign rule. It was for about 1,000 years. Because of this foreign rule, we find that the India's culture was invaded. And this cultural invasion, which formerly occurred in the form of colonialization and political domination, it's still continuing. Now it occurs as international trade and industrial development overseas, and which is promoted by a powerful country. And there we find that the cultural invasion is particularly marked in developing countries, where certain cultural aspects of the donor country, the country which is contributing, which is the powerful country, it is pervading the culture of the receiver, disregarding the latter's own culture. And the very negative effect of it we find is the cultural invasion, where we see that the indigenous tribes whose homelands have been seized for economic development, unable to adjust, they become totally dependent, easily exploited, and die from poverty, malnutrition, disease. That's one side. And far more negative implication is the cultural invasion, where we find that wherever this cultural invasion has occurred, it happens at the cost of diversity of the cultural heritage. The diversity is very much required. We don't want uniformity, the diversity, because each and every culture has some positive aspects which has to contribute to the entire global civilization. In the name of uniformity, if all those culture become extinct, it is we as a human civilization who is going to be the loser. So that diversity is a very important thing. And that is the thing which gets heavily damaged, annihilated, because of this type of cultural invasion, which previously used to happen because of colonialization, of political domination. And in the present day, it happens indirectly through international trade, industrial development overseas. And that's the context in which we find Swami Vivekananda's interpretation is very important. Why? He was a true visionary. Swami Vivekananda was a true visionary. With his prophetic vision, he could see how the hoary culture of an age-old civilization can be eroded by such cultural onslaught. Thus, he quoted the words from perennial scriptures and gave it an interpretation which was most appropriate for his time, for the generations to come. So, realizing the need to rouse the nation from its deep sense of worthlessness, which resulted from infatuation towards the vanities of an invading culture, Swami Vivekananda felt the need to rouse the faith and confidence of the entire nation. And that's why his interpretation of the word Shraddha as faith in oneself, we will find in the following words in the same lecture. We will quote that. What he's saying, unfortunately, it, meaning the Shraddha, has nearly vanished from India. In this British time, because of the cultural invasion, the Indians have started believing that their culture is worthless. The more they can imbibe the Western culture, the more that speaks of their development, of their flourishment. That type of cultural invasion has already happened. And that's why Swamiji is saying, unfortunately, it's because of lack of Shraddha, it has already vanished. The Shraddha has vanished from India. And this is why we are in our present state. What makes the difference between man and man is the difference in this Shraddha and nothing else. What make one man great and another weak and low is this Shraddha. My master used to say, he who thinks himself weak will become weak. And that is true. This Shraddha must enter into you. Whatever of material power you see manifested by the Western races is the outcome of this Shraddha. Because they believe in their muscles, and if you believe in your spirit, how much more work you can get from it. Believe in that innate, infinite soul, the infinite power, which with consensus of opinion, your books and sages preach. And then he's saying that Atman, which nothing can destroy, in it is infinite power, only waiting to be called out. For here is the great difference between all other philosophies and the Indian philosophy. Whether dualistic, qualified, monistic, or monistic, they all firmly believe that everything is in the soul itself. It has only to come out and manifest itself. Therefore, this Shraddha is what I want and what all of us here want. This faith in ourselves, and before you is the great task to get that faith. Give up the awful disease that is creeping into our national blood, that idea of ridiculing everything, that everything we have is of no use. You're ridiculing your own culture, that loss of seriousness. Give that up. Be strong and have this Shraddha, and everything else is bound to follow. And then what is Swamiji saying? Therefore, let me conclude by reminding you once more, arise, awake, and stop not till the desired end is reached. Be not afraid, for all great power throughout the history of humanity has been with the people. From out of their ranks have come all the greatest geniuses of the world, and history can only repeat itself. Be not afraid of anything. You will do marvelous work. The moment you fear, you are nobody. It is fear that is the great cause of misery in the world. It is fear that is the greatest of all superstitions. It is fear that is the cause of our woes, and it is fearlessness that brings heaven even in a moment. Therefore, again he quotes, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So now we understand that by Shraddha, from where that strength comes to arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached, is being interpreted by Swami Vivekananda as faith in oneself. Now, to understand that Swamiji, whether he's denying the fact that faith in the words of the scriptures in the Guru, no. If we really try to understand the word goal, that stop not till the goal is reached, what Swami Vivekananda means by the word goal, there I will find that we will find that the traditional meaning of the word Shraddha is hidden. Now, according to Swami Vivekananda, in many lectures, you will find what he's saying, that each and every nation represents certain ideals. As long as that ideal is kept intact, the nation thrives. And without it, it loses its vitality. And then Swamiji says, the national ideal of India is spirituality. That's the thing now he stresses. If India has to rise again, it has to do by following its main course. There's a path of spirituality. Hence, all its growth has to be integrated and channelized. He is not denying that we need growth in other aspects also. Science, technology, we need. He is not denying that in the name of spirituality, we shouldn't be going for all this progress. They're all required, but they have to be integrated and channelized through its spiritual culture, which, if can be made functional, will ultimately benefit the entire world. It will give an answer to the present problem of meaninglessness we find in the materialistic civilization, where we can complement materialism with spirituality. And that's what Swamiji is saying, that as our Indian culture has something to contribute to the world, it shouldn't die. It's not just that being an Indian, I should be proud of my culture. It's not the question of pride. Pride, of course, should be there. Along with the pride, there should be a sense of responsibility. I have, as an Indian, it is my foremost duty to preserve this culture through walking my talk. I just simply not profess my culture. I'm proud of my culture. I live that life as per my culture. And that's the thing which can show a way to the world, because the world needs it. In spite of all materialistic growth, the world is in need of spirituality. With all its affluence, it suffers from meaninglessness. And Swami Vivekananda realized that materialistic civilization, with all its pomp and glow on the surface, is absolutely hollow within, which can only be filled up with spirituality. That's why he used to say, I am a socialist, for half a loaf is better than no loaf at all. That with all your social idea of socialism, you can think of a society where all are treated equally, where all gets all the basic necessities of life. But do you think that will make happy? That is just half a loaf. Man cannot have a full life of fulfillment unless he finds some meaning behind the life. So then you have to resort to some spirituality. So all these material things can only feed me half. I am just half fed with that. Once I have that, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, khali pete dharma hoy na. As long as my basic needs is not fulfilled, I cannot think of higher spirituality. So they should be met. I need the material civilization for that, but that is not enough. I have to complement it with spirituality to really find a meaning behind my existence. And we do find that there is a tremendous hunger for spirituality in the West, in the entire world. Apparently, it may appear to be contrary. The attendance in churches, in religious congregations is becoming marginal. But the fact is that more and more people are losing faith in organized religion. According to Swami Vivekananda, whenever two persons unite to form a religion, they start hating the third person. And that's why we find that in spite of all this prophetic statements, they prophesize of peace. All the organized religion speaks of peace, but ultimately it leads to hatred and violence. So according to Swami Vivekananda, that's the best religion, which gives freedom to each and every individual to pursue his spiritual quest as per his or her beliefs, likings, and temperaments. And that's what the world wants today. My liberation in my way, which suits me most. My liberation in my way, which suits me most. It's the idea of ahangraha upasana. I won't elaborate it. The time is not there. So that's the idea, that ishta upasana, ahangraha upasana. And for this, India has the answer. And that's why Swami Vivekananda wanted that Indian culture should live, for it is yet to play a great role in the next evolutionary leap of mankind. So thus we find out that Swami Vivekananda meant by the word goal, what he meant, that speaks of the traditional interpretation of the word Shraddha. Faith in your perennial culture, in your scriptures, in your guru. That's the goal. But for that, I have to have first faith in myself, that I can, that whenever there is a clash of civilization, there's a cross culture, I shouldn't think that my culture is something to be hidden. I should get more and more acclimatized with the foreign culture, which is advertised as the only culture which can show us prosperity, which can show us evolution. So we shouldn't be piqued by that type of idea. We should have faith that I do represent a culture which do have to contribute in the entire global civilization. So if that means Uttishthata Jagrata, that faith in yourself. And Prapya Vara Nivudata speaks of the goal, achieving the goal, bringing a gradual holistic transformation to the global culture where materialism and spirituality complement each other. It's not that we have to supplement materialism with spirituality. That's many things nowadays. Nor the so-called orthodox who think spirituality should supplement the materialism. Neither of them. What Swamiji wanted, that materialism and spirituality should complement each other to lead the entire humankind to an enlightened global civilization. And that's what is the need of the day. And that's what Swami Vivekananda is indicating by his famous line, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So may we all be inspired by the words of Swami Vivekananda, by understanding its true implication. Let us have faith in ourselves. Let us have faith in our own culture. And let us have that grit and resolution in this world of cross-cultural civilization to walk my talk, Not only simply I'm proud of my civilization and make some false assertions. No, not that. I live a life, I walk what I talk. And that becomes an example for the entire world to follow, to show the way of a much more higher evolution. We have evolved as a human being, as a civilization, but our goal is still farther. And we can attain that fulfillment by the vision which Swami Vivekananda has shown us. Let Swami Vivekananda live through us, through our endeavor, through all our attempt, through our sadhana practices to have an enlightenment within and without, abhyudaya and distressa, is my earnest prayer. And with this, I would like to conclude my discussion today. Thank you all for inviting me once again. Thank you all. Namaskars.